What is up, Lorcana Goons? My name is Kevin. You're here for the Friday weekly Market Watch video. Joined with Zach Stone, and we're going to go over some Lorcana news, meta trends, and card prices. Zach Stone, we're recording really early today, and that's because you're gonna head on to your way to the CCQ in Las Vegas, right? That's gonna be at the Star City Games Con. So if you guys are gonna be in Las Vegas this weekend for the Star City Games Con card game tournament expo, be sure to say hi to Zach Stone, repping Lorcana Goons community over here. How you doing, Zach?
Doing well. I'm excited. I can't wait to see all you glorious Illumineers. And there are some other people that are going there for other TCGs, I know as well. But yes, can't wait to talk about the market. Can't wait to talk about these cards that you are going to be needing for this weekend's tournaments, wherever you may be. And the first card that we have is the Cinderella Dream Come True, coming down in price. This is a card that was, right from the get-go, was seeing prices as high as 65, even 70 one day. And now dropping all the way down to $45. Creech Monster Games has you at the lowest copy right now. And yeah, this is a card that still is a very important blue card, but we're seeing deck lists appear without Cinderella. Ed Chu, the North American Continental winner and second place at Worlds, was showcasing a blue-green deck list without any copies of Cinderella. And that started to get people thinking, do I really need to play her in my deck? Is my deck fine without her? And I think people are coming to the same conclusion. Kevin, how do you feel about Cinderella?
It feels like the card's a little bit inconsistent, overhyped even. I actually made a tweet the other day saying, can we finally all agree that Cinderella does not deserve to be banned? It is not ban-worthy, right? And we even had some interesting replies from Lorcana Decklist saying ban-worthy. The card's not even buy-worthy, they said. So I'll put that reply on the screen. But let me know what you guys think on the screen. Do you think Cinderella is overhyped? I think the card is a little bit overhyped. I've been saying for the last couple of videos that I think Purple Steel is just best deck of the meta. And we were kind of really overhyping the idea that this Cinderella was a new flavor sham, for example. And if you guys haven't played Lorcana previous formats, there used to be a 4-cost card for Sapphire that was way better than Cindy, right? And I think people are, I think we're coping. I think we're really looking for that flavor sham, how far I'll go combo. And Cinderella is just not it. It's a really good card, though. Don't get me wrong. I think in Sapphire Steel, this card does wonders. This card is insane in Sapphire Steel, right? But if you're not really playing Sapphire Steel, as Ed Chu had shown us this week, you can kind of play without this card in your Sapphire Emerald decks. But another really strong Sapphire Steel legendary is going to be Goliath, the clan leader. This card today selling for around $25 now. They were hitting 30, 35-ish last week, right? But I think people are starting to realize that you can play other decks other than Sapphire Steel. It's not going to be a tier 1, tier 0 meta. And a lot of us who had Goliaths at $30, $35, we were getting rid of them. It seemed like it was a good time to get rid of those. And the Hades looking for a deal, still chilling around this $30 mark, and we're getting close to $33. We have 2 verified listings at less than $35, and then it goes to Kitchen Table Games at $33. Now, this is a card that I think is a little underhyped still. What do you think?
I gotta admit, Kevin, this is probably one of my favorite cards from this set. What do you say? The ability to just have your opponent make a decision and pretty much like put the ball in their court is kind of like my favorite type of Lorcana to play. And I'm gonna be honest, I love when my opponent loves to give me a couple cards off of this. I feel like they're trading 1 for 2, if that makes sense. But again, there's a lot of different reasonings for why people may decide to do that. In my testing with this card, it's just a very solid 5-drop, but the ability to just have removal that early for Amethyst decks is really powerful. Again, Blurple loves cards like this. This is also an iconic rare, so cold foils aren't too much expensive than the non-foil versions. I think they're like $34, $35 for cold foils. But the iconics, if you are looking to max rarity out any sort of Hades, those are a lot different prices.
Yeah, crazy prices on those. But I kind of bring these up alongside each other because I do feel like at some point these prices are going to swap. I think at some point Cinderella is going to go down to the $30-ish range, maybe even cheaper, and Hades is going to end up being the more expensive one. Because I'm just seeing, like you said, Zach, more and more people taking advantage of this ability to force your opponent to either give you 2 cards or bottom deck a card. And in this week, I feel like Purple Steel is the spice of the week. Everyone is saying Amethyst Steel best deck. Amethyst in general, crazy color this format, right? So I think this being one of the newest cards in Amethyst, one of the most powerful ones that came out in the set, I'm surprised it's still this cheap, right? But it's not too far off a card like Clarabelle, Light on Her Hooves, this legendary from Shimmering Sky, shooting up to almost $35 this week. We have cold foils at $32, lowest are verified by New Game Plus, and you can get non-foils for the same price, actually. So why not just get the cold foils here, right? But they're at $32 to $33. This card does have an Enchanted rare, so that's why the cold foil prices aren't much different than the non-foil prices, but you're going to be paying more than $30 for each copy of your Clarabelle. Light on Her Hooves, this card used in Sapphire Emerald, probably being used in other Emerald decks, Emerald Steel. This is really your like only draw engine in Emerald right now, unfortunately. But there's a couple other strategies for Emerald you can use with it, like maybe the Chroma Dog strategy or the Circle of Life strategy, which uses the Tramp and Lady cards. The Tramp Enterprising Dog, this is a rare selling for around $3. You're going to be able to have these in your trade binder. If you have them in your bulk, make sure to put them in your trade binder because dogs are up right now. I think the Chroma Dog deck is a very strong deck. It's a really good counter to the meta. Everyone says that Chroma Dogs has a hard matchup against Purple Steel. I disagree. I completely disagree. I think if you're a good yellow-green dog player, you're probably going to clap the Purple Steel matchup.
Yeah, the dog deck actually is good. I've found not success, but I found that this is like a very problematic deck to have to play against personally. But again, this is also another card, and most of these cards that we were bringing up actually have what we call the Enchanted effect. So most of their cold foils are not necessarily going to be crazy expensive in comparison to what their non-foil copies are. But a card that we want to talk about that is not going to have that kind of ability is the Namari Single-Minded Rival. Now, again, being played in a lot of Sapphire Steel decks, this is also a princess that you can play after you Cinderella to not only find more cards and filter your hand out, you can also just decide to ink again and draw another card at the end of the turn. But right now, your non-foils are sitting at around like $30. There's multiple sellers that have them listed around that price. But I want to talk about the cold foils right now because the cold foils go up to around $48. Then you have one at $50. Then you have a few at like $60. This one's going nuts right now. Kevin, do you have some cold foil Namaris?
I don't have any cold. I think I might have like one, maybe one. But somebody actually cleaned me out of my Namaris just the other day. And the price was going up. We obviously recognize that they're a little bit more than $20, and that's cool. Like you got to pick up the cards when you see them trending up, man. I say Sapphire Steel is a very strong deck, and I think the reason why Cinderella works best in that deck, like we were saying, is because you can combo it off with so many princesses. You have Fearless Jasmine, you have Namari, the Single-Minded Rival, you have Kita, the Explorer, right? There's a lot of things you can do with the deck. And you know what's crazy about Namari? It has this ability at the start of your turn where you get to draw and discard a card. And I've been playing against Sapphire Steel a couple times in my testing, and sometimes they only have one card in their hand and you're about to win and you're just thinking, ooh, I hope he doesn't top deck. I just hope he doesn't top deck the Hades. Please, bro, please don't top deck Hades. They trigger Namari effect, they draw a card, they discard a card, and their next card is like, develop your brain into Sail the Azurite Sea into Hades. And it's just like, oh my goodness, you had to have it. You had to have the Namari. That little drawn extra discard filter, that cycle is kind of crazy. It does a lot. It does a lot for a deck like Sapphire Steel, and yeah, I think it's probably one of the cards that is going to make that deck a little bit better than what I'm currently giving it credit for, I will admit. I just think Purple Steel's so good. Nobody's playing Fire the Cannons. Nobody's respecting the idea of a Vanish on these illusion characters, bro. Iago, Spectral Parrot is still only a $6 cold foil. The non-foils are selling for around $3 to $4 right now, so the price isn't too far off, right? But there was a point in time where the non-foils were this price. So I get the feeling, getting cold foil Iagos right now seems like a come up. This card is always going to be good in my opinion. Some other cold foils I want to mention: Mickey Mouse, the Amber Champion. This is a character you can play in your green-yellow dog decks, or maybe you're playing an Amber Emerald Circle of Life deck where you want to go into something like Pluto, Raja, Mickey. This is a very strong card to use that combo line. And cold foils selling for around $3 to $4. Not too shabby, right, Zach? But here we have the key to Creative Thinker. This is what we were talking about. The non-foil selling for now almost $5, $3.75 with some extra shipping, or $2.50 with some extra shipping. So you're paying at least $4 to $5 for these. And the cold foils, look at these, dude. These are shooting up from $10, lowest verified by MRT Burley. We have $13 by Health Points TCG. Then it starts shooting up to $15, $16 as you scroll a little bit further down the page for our key to Creative Thinker, right?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised, but again, Sapphire Steel. This is a princess. This also has ward, so you can't remove it with cards like Strength of a Raging Fire or He Hurled His Thunderbolt. And just finding more cards to be able to filter. You're looking at the top two of your deck, choosing one that stays there while the other one goes into your inkwell is very good for this strategy. I think this is like a perfect complement. Plus, if you're playing like Beyond the Horizon, this is always going to stick onto the board as be a really good singer. So really strong card. I like what people are doing with Kita, and personally, it's probably one of like my top 5 Sapphire cards right now, just because I like the ability of just like kind of like deciding your next turn. I think that this game just is played with like turns ahead in mind, and it does make sense for a card like Kita to just be around in the game. But Vincenzo Santorini being like a cold foil, this like sought after and this expensive, really just goes to show that Sapphire Steel players don't mess around when they want to bling out their decks.
Whoa. What the
Five
heck?
available listings, guys.
Wait,
Five
can I add
available
this one?
listings.
I can add. You can add this one. You can add this last $10 one before it shoots up to $40 for
I
cold
don't think any
foil.
have sold at 40. I don't
No,
believe
no,
so.
no, they haven't. There's no way. There's no
I
way.
think
What?
a $25
Wow.
on one of them.
Wow.
That is an interesting thing to see. So again, guys, Vincenzo Santorini and even non-foils are about $2 to $3 right now. They're all going up.
If somebody asked me for a cold foil, I don't have any, but if somebody asked me for a cold foil, I would at least say $15. Like, seeing the way this is going, like, I would ask for $15 this card. And then yeah, non-foils are at least $2 to $3. Put those in your trade binders, guys. Put them in your trade binders. Go to locals if you guys need cards. Run around and ask people, can I see your trades? Can I see your trades? Vincenzos are $3. Take my Vincenzos. Take my Vincenzos. Get those sharks you need. Get those legendaries you need. Get rid of some of the foils or some of these like rares you're not playing for your decks, right? But dang, I wonder. I don't think they're gonna sell for $40, but 15 to $20 for a cold foil Vincenzo Santorini sounds pretty on point, right? Let's go ahead and move on to some collectability slash playable slash expensive cards, enchanted as we say. I want to go over a Lady Decisive Dog because, like I was saying a little while ago, dogs are up. I think dogs are a very good deck. I think the Chroma Dogs deck is very strong right now. And yes, as you can see here, recent sales for this lady on the 17th, the last one sold for 115, and then after that, 150, 165, 165, 164.97. Very nice, very nice. This card is easily selling for more than 150 now. So if you still have your Lady Decisive Dogs enchanted, these are up. These are at least 150 a pop, and if you pick them up for less than $100, that sounds like a come up, right?
Yeah, again, just a very collectible card. A lot of people love Lady and the Tramp. I think this has a little bit of a cute effect to it, and they just started improving on these enchanteds around these sets. I know
That's
Raina
true.
Jafar
Yeah.
also has just like an amazing enchanted card pool. Fabled got even better. Whispers in the Well crushed it, and I just can't wait to see what they're going to do into the future of the game with the collectability and the enchanteds. Something that we want to kind of show you guys are the top enchanteds from each set. So we have a list of some enchanteds here. We have Elsa, of course, the chase from the first chapter, and right now prices are around $750. We just kind of want to take a little bit of a look into this because a lot of you that do watch our content don't necessarily play the game; they do collect the game, and we feel like it's a little bit of important to kind of go over some aspect here. So we took the most expensive enchanteds from each set, and we're just going to talk about them a little bit today. So yeah, Elsa being the chase, but also with first chapter being like reintroduced into the market with more of the Costco bundles, and we are going to see more first chapter Black Friday bundles. I just think that there's more first chapter cards out there, and more people are pulling their Elsas.
Yeah, they did just announce these Black Friday first chapter bundles at the Lorecast that they do on every Thursday. So that was pretty interesting. I am once again asking Team Lorcana to stop giving us first chapter packs. It feels like they're never going to stop printing first chapter, or they're never going to stop releasing it. So I'm assuming it's already. I'm hoping this is just all their printed stuff, and they're just getting rid of all what they've already printed, and it's not that they keep on printing first chapter. But yes, as someone who has also like partial collector, I can't believe they're still giving us first chapter, bro. That's kind of wild. But the Elsa is selling for a little bit more than 700. The Cinderella Ballroom Sensation. This is from the Rise of the Floodborn, and you're also getting 2 Floodborn packs in that little combo deal, right? So not too shabby there. This one's selling for 180, 175 ish. Recent sales are going to be 175, 180 as well. Not too bad. It's been going down from around 200 to 170. This is the lowest I've seen this card ever. And if you're going to be playing Infinity format, you can still play Cinderella Ballroom Sensation in your Amber Steel song deck, right? But I think we've seen that Infinity format doesn't have the biggest interest right now, right? But I do feel like there's a lot of ways you can play this game. You can play multiplayer formats with your friends, and you can have Infinity rules in that sense, and that's perfectly fine. And if you want to just have nice cards, you can always drop like almost $200 on this unplayable Cinderella Ballroom Sensation. The next one, oh wait, we're gonna go in order, right? Zach Stone, let's go in order. So we have the Ursula's Return from Into the Inklands. This one's selling for almost $100, $85. Not too bad. It's similar concept, still pretty good in Infinity format, right?
Well, I actually haven't seen too much green, even though Diablo is a very strong card in Infinity format. However, they are going to keep printing different songs. And if a card like this ever gets like reprinted, right? Like if it does come back in the next rotation or just in a future set, then yeah, I think that there's some pretty crazy cards that this card can sing as of right now. And
that's true.
Personally, personally, it's still something to kind of mention that this Storyborn, Dreamborn thing, I feel like is going to be relevant when they do decide to fix this printing error. I do believe that these Dreamborn classification was not supposed to be on there. It's supposed to be Storyborn, but it doesn't matter yet. There's nothing that like helps Storyborn characters as of right now. So I'm waiting to see, but I think the Ursula's Return has Ariel Sonic Warrior being the most expensive enchanted out of this set. So all you guys that do like to master set and get every single card including enchanted, this is just like a good way of kind of referencing like where you guys are at. You guys can kind of imagine that if this is going to be your top end of the set, that everything else is going to be below it, right? But one of the only cards I think to make it out in the rotation next to Second Star on the right, I believe. So it's just an enchanted that is playable and is seeing some success in Sapphire Steel. Yeah. Again, being a princess, you can play it on 6. So on turn 4, after you've ramped twice, you can drop it. And it's just another way of getting rid of characters, and it's honestly has a lot of reach. Just one of my not my favorite cards, but it's a nice card to be able to try out every once in a while when I get to play some Amber Steel Princess decks.
Next up, we have Mufasa, ruler of the Pride Rock. Now we're in the zone of cards that have survived the post-rotation, right? So the most expensive enchanted from Shimmering Skies is around $160. $165 actually by Finch and Sparrow. Shout out you guys. The recent sales too. Couple recent sales in November. For a card that doesn't really see meta play, I'm pretty surprised that we've had 4 sales in this last month alone for our Mufasa. So the collectability for Lorcana is there. I think on like a worldwide level, like people like buying these cards and collecting them and keeping them and whatnot. Granted, it's not as big as like some of the other card games in the industry, but they're I don't see anybody playing this Mufasa in their meta deck. So the fact that there's 4 sales in this month alone on TCG Player, very, very reassuring to me as someone who likes to collect Lorcana. Just someone who's just like, okay, cool. These sets and these boxes, they're going to have some value here. And you never know. There's a world where this card actually ends up being really, really strong, right? Azurite Sea, we saw Tiana kind of come back into power, into fruition the last format. It was one of the best cards of the set. And even then, it jumped up from like a $80 enchanted to around $140. So wasn't too big of a price jump. And right now, the lowest verified is around $100 still, so you can still pick up your Tianas for $100. But unfortunately, Azurite Sea just has this enchanted artwork, which I think everyone kind of agrees is the most boring artwork. So again, I am once again asking Ravensburger to give us a Tiana enchanted rare that does not have the Azurite Sea artwork, because I wasn't a big fan. Wasn't a big fan of the enchanteds there, and I think that's the reason why a lot of these are cheaper than some of the other enchanteds, because only the most expensive one only at $100. That's pretty close to some of these rotated out enchanteds. So what do you think?
Definitely interesting. because last set, I think Tiana was a card that you had to prepare and build your decks to beat, or you were going to lose to her. And we saw Amber Steel dominate a lot of the set early on, but not doing the same right now. So I think playability and collectability do kind of meet in the middle with some of the enchanted rares. And if we see it's more playable, it does start to kind of go up. But like you said, this set that those enchanted the treasure map just wasn't it, didn't hit. It started doing better when you got into the Arcasia's Island, I will admit. These enchanted artworks, this
Yes.
really popped off. Tamatoas look insane, but we saw this card spike up to around $400, I think, at the earliest of days, when this is, the menace that he is, Tamatoa himself, the shiny man, as I like to call it. It doesn't see play anymore. Popsicle is no longer a card. Lucky Dime's no longer a card in the core constructed format. And again, still being around $200 has to make you feel a little bit better about holding on to some of these cards if you have picked them up at the higher price points. But yeah, it goes to show that like when they started to improve and when they started to make these a little bit more sought after, that the prices are making more sense. I do like that they are paying attention to the collectability.
Yeah, this is a really good card in Infinity too. So that's really fun. So you can still play your Tamatoa item decks in Infinity format. And you never know, this card is still, legal to use in current constructed format. And if items ever become a big thing, we're playing Tamatoa, right? But yeah, I like that you said that, Zach. As vendors ourselves, we have to take risks sometimes and buy some cards in. And I did pick up Tamatoas when they were around like 270-ish, and we got them at a percentage, but either way, they've dropped a lot. They have dropped a lot, almost down to 190. And I'm pretty sure I paid more than 200 each on those. Yeah, and so this is those little things. We're just gonna hold on to it. Yeah, this is a really nice Enchanted, and I think this is one of the more collectible ones, one of the nicer ones from this set as well, right? So that's pretty cool. And if you guys do want to go visit us, where we do have our card vending spaces, Zach's not going to be there this weekend, but he is at Frank & Sons every Saturday and Sunday. That's in the City of Industry, and I am at the Ninja Exchange Collectibles Expo in San Diego County, which is in like northern San Diego County. So you can come say hi to us, come pick up some Lorcana needs, or maybe ask us if we have any of these Enchanteds you're looking for, like the Into the Unknown, which is the most expensive Enchanted rare from Reign of Jafar, selling at almost $300 still, which I think is still very expensive, right? But hey, it has Elsa on it. This is an Elsa card, so it's gonna have to sell for at least more than $250, right? And Blurple sounds really good right now. I think if everyone's saying that Purple Steel is the best deck, then I'm surprised people aren't playing Blurple, right? You could just play Elephant on turn 3, and then you can start playing Into the Unknown, Elsa, turn your stuff sideways, Hades, etc., etc. What do you think?
Well, I gotta admit that this is just a card that I knew off the bat would be a pretty expensive card, but for it to still be expensive right now is interesting, because Blurple has been less and less popular, although last set it was probably one of the best decks in the format, so the most representation. And again, with still of a nice price point of around $270, $280, that this is just a good card to have. If you picked them up, before they spiked above the $200 mark, then you were definitely making yourself out to be a winner here. But I think what also has happened too, why some of these other enchanteds we've talked about are a lot cheaper, is just that as time has gone, the playability also decreases, and if they get rotated out, that's it. They're just collectible at that point. And if you're playing with these copies, some people are a little pretentious. They may just want copies that are a little bit more cleaner, less play. So sometimes you just can't help it. Other people are shuffling and touching your cards too, so you just kind of want to be careful there if you are deciding to play with enchanted rares. And yeah, this is just a set 8 enchanted. So we are about to go into the set 9, and that is Fabled, and that is of course going to be Dumbo, the most expensive enchanted from that set. But again, this is just the most recent set after the current set right now, and this is not too far off from where we have once seen Dumbo. Dumbo was also as high as around $400 as well, being the card and being the way he functions. But I'm honestly shocked for that and Into the Unknown to be the same price, when realistically, like, you're color locked into the Unknown, where like Dumbo can be played in different Amethyst decks is kind of interesting to me. But I really think that this is just a safe assumption because these prices are a lot higher for the most expensive enchanteds, and it does make you feel like you're getting more bang for your buck. But Fabled also did something that no other set has done prior to it, and that's release iconic rares. That was Mickey and Minnie. So Whispers in the Well also did the same thing here too, with their Ariel and the Hades. Just something to kind of mention that there is higher priced cards than the Enchanted Dumbo in that set, and same kind of concept with Whispers in the Well, that they are more expensive than the Enchanteds that are available, but Ariel, just not seeing the play that we would thought from the beginning, still looks amazing in person. I actually bought one in last Wednesday, Kevin, and just so you viewers are aware, Frankincense is also open every Wednesday, and there is going to be a holiday schedule. So we will have the link provided below if you are curious to see the holiday schedule. I know some people that are in town that are visiting some friends or family members might want to come check out Frank's and just can't make it on the weekend, but there's going to be a week where we're open every single day. So yeah, definitely check us out then. But this Ariel ethereal voice iconic, I mean, between this and the Hades, I know which one I would prefer, but this one's not too bad. I know some people are more chasing the Ariel.
Yeah, recent sales on the Ariel Iconic are getting close to that 500 mark. There was a sale for 500, exactly 500. And then the recent one was 590. The Hades has way more sales though. These were selling for at least 600, 650 actually. There's some recent sales. Most recent is 600, but before that 650. So I think asking for 650 to 600. Oh, actually, lowest verified is all 598 for the Hades Iconic. But the Iconic rares are pretty cool, especially because they're kind of playable. This one's not being used right now, this format, but I think it's a really good card, and we're seeing all these decks play Hades. And we forgot to mention the Cinderella Enchanted from Whispers in the Well. This is the most expensive Enchanted from the Whispers and the in the Well set, the most recent set, right? Sitting at around 310. And we just finished kind of mentioning how Cinderella is not a card that I have a bunch of faith in, right? So I'm not going to be surprised if this card ends up dropping below Dumbo and Tamatoa Zack Stone. But I did want to mention something. Somebody asked me the other day if I think the overall collectability, pricing, the overall worth of these enchanted rares, do you think it's going to go down, especially in the eyes of competitive players, given what happened at the recent DLC with like DKP and how he was in Top Cut and they made him swap out a bunch of his enchanted rares? That was like a pretty big story in the community. I think a lot of people saw those Facebook posts and they were kind of like shocked and kind of disappointed because they're like, wow, I can't even play with my enchanted rares comfortably, right? So I'm starting to see some people basically say I'm no longer going to be playing with enchanted rares because one, they don't want to double sleeve their deck, and two, they are worried about the card warping and them getting in trouble in like a big tournament, right? I was thinking it's not that big a deal because I think for the most part, not everybody who's gonna have like an enchanted deck is gonna be flying out to all these tournaments trying to make Top Cut. But they did make a really good point, right? In my opinion, it does kind of get me wondering: do I want to play with 4 enchanted Clarabelles and risk getting in trouble because the card just randomly warps? Like, I know I'm not doing anything wrong, but am I going to get the same grace as like every other player, or am I going to get DQ'd in a random tournament? What do you think?
Two things I kind of want to talk about with that. So I know for a fact that like enchanted or like any sort of expensive cards, you just run the risk of any potential opponent of yours like damaging your cards. Like you basically are handing those cards to somebody every match, no matter how much you try to control like how they're going to handle your cards. You know what I mean? You hope that with their they're going to be mindful, but you can never you'll never know, right? So you run that risk that I feel like you're just going to remove some elements that you can't control out of the way. But another thing too is like they started saying that they're not going to recommend like players to use like those like glimmer foils or like some of these kind of like rarity cards, which means they cannot really like print any exclusive cards. Like cards that are going to be printed from like sets are the only cards that will be legal. I know like other TCGs do like exclusive printings, and then like cards are only available like as like a prize card or something like that. So they're gonna have to avoid doing that, right? They're gonna have to make like non-foil versions of all these cards because somebody probably doesn't want to jeopardize their tournament experience all because they just wanted to bling their deck out. and not only having to like replace those immediately, like if you don't have those copies on you, like aren't you at the mercy of like having to buy them from vendors? Like they let
Yeah.
DKP do the proxies, like handwritten out proxies, but are they going to do that for everybody? Is that going to be an exception for the masses? Like
Yeah. Was
I'm
that
not
something?
going
Was
to
that
want to
something?
hold.
Was that something only done in Top Cut? Are you going to allow everyone to do that in Swiss? At that point, should we just
I
allow
don't want to hold
proxies?
Ravensburger accountable to force them to do that, but like if that's going to be the thing going forward, like they're going to just have to have their own cards, like on site, and potentially like loan some of these cards out to players that need them because they have to swap their cards out. So let us know in the comments below what you think about that. We have some other news to talk about. We have some more announcements in the Lorecast, and I'm
Yes.
excited to go back. I'm
Same,
excited to go
same.
back
This
again,
this is a
Kevin.
big one because if you guys really want to go visit us, either Zach F. Rankins or me in San Diego County, you can do so next year, 2026, at the North American Continental Championship, which is going to be hosted at Disneyland Resort again. Zach Stone, I'm super hyped. Low key, I'm actually over the fact that there's only 3 North American events. I'm being a little selfish here, but now I just don't care because we get to go to nationals in Disneyland again, and I'm assuming they're gonna do a last chance qualifier. I'm hoping they do. It's 30 minutes away from us. It's 30 minutes away from us, man. I cannot complain. Super hyped for this. I'm glad they gave us the dates too, because if you want to go to the EU Championship, that's gonna be in Paris, and maybe you'll do a last chance qualifier for then too, and that's near my birthday. Might go to Paris next year too. That sounds really fun. But yes, you can come to Southern California and experience the North American Championship. That's really cool, guys. Last year was a blast. I really love the way they went about everything, minus the actual main event for the competitors. That felt very much like we were taking like the SATs, and that was a little weird. But the actual main event for the experience for every other player was awesome. So I'm super hyped for this. Thank you so much, Ravensburger and Disney Lorcana, for giving us the dates with so much time in advance so that we can plan it, because it did feel like last time we did not know what we were doing. We're all just risking it all. We did not know when Worlds was, etc. So I really like the communication. This is really cool. Zach Stone, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, just want a little bit adding on to that. Yeah, we were kind of lucky just being where we are, like being born in SoCal, like not moving,
Oh yeah,
not
sometimes
leaving,
lucky.
and
Yeah.
staying and staying, relatively close to the location. So not fortunate for others, but this amount of time preparing is super important. I got tickets for Ghent. I will be traveling to Ghent and competing in that Lorcana challenge. So I could potentially earn my invite to the EU Championship. That means I'm going to
Oh,
have
I'm
to go
hyped
to
for you.
Paris.
I'm super hyped for you,
There's
dude.
no way I don't go to Paris.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. First time I've ever gone across the pond. I'm actually very much
Ooh.
looking forward to that.
Very cool.
Meeting
Very
some
cool.
European Illumineers. I know you guys are very dedicated about this game, and I can't wait. So, but
I don't know about you,
for
but
another video.
I feel like Lorcana is bigger in Europe than it is in the States. I don't know about you. That's how I feel. Like it feels like there's just so much activity out there.
I'll provide some feedback when I get to make that travel. But yes, so NA Championship, Disneyland Resort, that's in Anaheim, California. EU Championship, Disneyland Paris. We have the dates. We are locked in. Some of those that do have your invites are probably excited because you guys are already booking everything. You guys are confident because you guys already are locked in. And some of us that are still chasing those invites, we have a couple more DLCs and
Yeah.
some CCQs to go through. So who knows? I'm not bittersweet, but I'm glad that it's the same place. I don't have to travel far. I wouldn't mind having to go to Orlando. I wouldn't mind it swapping, right? Like if Worlds was in
Like
Disneyland
Disney
Resort,
World or
and
something.
then we had to go to Orlando for NH. I wouldn't have mind because I've yet to go to Disney World. I would want to make that trip and have that experience. So again, this game is taking me to places I never thought I would ever go.
I'm on a budget, so I'm so glad that this is in our backyard, but I understand that other people are also on a budget and it's not in their backyard. So be sure to start saving up, be sure to start planning so you can come with your families. Maybe you've never been to Disneyland before. This could be your first experience, and you have a lot of time to plan that out, and I think it'd be really cool. So, and hopefully you guys do get to make it out here. Hopefully they do a last chance qualifier as well, because I want to qualify for the North American Championship and the EU Championship as well. Zach Stone, good luck this weekend at the CC CCQ in Las Vegas. Only one winner will earn their invite to the North American Championship, and I think it's going to be Zach Stone. I think it's going to be either my cousin Chris from Lorcana Goons team or any of the Lorcana Goons squad members, or I think it could even be you watching at home. If you're going to go participate in your CCQ or any tournaments, just know that you have the ability to win as well. Even if you've never played this game before and you want to get into it and you're just collecting, pick up the deck, start playing with your friends and family, have a blast. You'll see how cool it is, man. You could be the next champion. You never know. But okay, anything you want to say before we call it a day, Zach Stone?
Good luck to all the Lumineers competing in any tournaments wherever you are. I know some people have some other exciting tournaments that they can't wait to go visit. There was other CCQs announced, one in Poland, one in Mexico. So I'm glad that it's going more and more worldwide. This is
kind of
awesome.
hyped. Kind of want to go to the Mexico one. That'd be cool.
Drop down and let us know in the comments if you are going to be competing in any events. You don't have to say what you're going to play unless you'd like to, but I can't wait to talk about those deck lists on Monday's video. And until then, Lorcana Goons, stay tuned and we'll see you Goons next time.